So now that we have addressed the question why manage Wi-Fi, I'm going to turn to Daran Hermans, Director PLM at Cambium Networks, to tell us how. Floor is yours, Daran.
All right. Thank you very much, Adeline. And I got to tell you guys, I learned a few things. Kevin, you had that stat up there. One of your stats there, what people do on the internet, you had a stat of 65% of people making phone calls. I thought, wow, that's higher than I expected. So I took a note on that. Interesting about that, Kevin, is around 2019 is when the number of phone calls over Wi-Fi actually is now greater than, started as of the end of 2019, the number of phone calls placed over Wi-Fi is greater than the number of phone calls placed over cellular. That just happened a couple of years ago. So your stat there, is good. I'm really glad you showed that stat, Kevin, because it really validates kind of what's happened elsewhere in the industry. And Brian, I got to say, we should have put up a poll. 80s music. Run DMC, Van Halen, or Duran. Take your pick. Some different genres, but yeah, a great decade for music. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate that a lot. We're going to talk about a little bit of technical stuff. We're going to pivot a little bit here and talk about Wi-Fi 6. We're going to talk about 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And that's something that's going to be new, something that's going to become really important in apartment MDU. And it's starting to happen now, and it's going to become more important as the years go on. We're going to talk about mixing some things together, and then how can you wow the tenant? Because ultimately, that's what this is about. I like, Brian, I like your presentation showing what people do, the amenities that they do in the apartments today. It's really important to see those amenities. So a quick primer here on Wi-Fi names. We tried in the industry, and I say we, it wasn't my decision, but I'm in the industry, so I guess I get the blame for it too. We tried to make things easier on understanding the names of different Wi-Fi generations. So they came up with these 4, 5, 6 numbers, and those sounded really good when there's only 4, 5, and 6. But you notice we've got 6E, we've got 7, we've got lots of numbers here, and they don't make a lot of sense, unfortunately. So I'm going to give you a little quick primer here as quickly as I can. Green, gold, and blue. Let's keep those colors in mind. Green, I'm using green to reference the original Wi-Fi frequencies, the 2.4 original Wi-Fi. Gold represent the stuff that's vastly the most common, which is the most useful frequencies for Wi-Fi. And then blue is the new stuff. Blue is the new stuff, the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi that's coming up. So if you notice here, we can't get away without, we have to support all the way back to Wi-Fi 4. We have to, because most of these consumer IoT devices, and I think it was Brian that was mentioning, or maybe it was, or actually might have been Adeline, talking about the different consumer IoTs and facilities IoT things in the networks. They're going to use that Wi-Fi 4 technology for the most part. Most of the time you'll see Wi-Fi 4 used for those types of devices, so we can't get rid of that. We're going to have to support that. Wi-Fi 5 is super common, super common. All the tablets, phones, gaming consoles, old printers, PCs, they're supporting 5 gigahertz. So that's an important frequency to use. Wi-Fi 6 is really nice. Wi-Fi 6 is where we're at today. And Wi-Fi 6 has actually had the fastest adoption rate of all previous generations. It only took about 3 years to become the dominant technology in the industry. Why? Because it's excellent for streaming. It's excellent for high density. And it supports both those green and the gold. So it's green and gold. It supports the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz frequencies. So Wi-Fi 6, that's really your baseline for most of where we need to be in terms of Wi-Fi technology. And then as we start to go forward, we absolutely want to take advantage of the 6 gigahertz frequencies that are coming up. And I'll dig into that a little bit more right here. Why? Why do I like that blue one so much? Because it's 1200 megahertz. It's a massive amount of spectrum. Easily twice, if you add up all the 5 gigahertz stuff, and not all that 5 gigahertz stuff is really that useful because those DFS channels there, that 355 megahertz of DFS, it's not always useful in all apartments. Depends upon where the location is, and if there's radar nearby, some of that frequency may not be usable. So not all of it's there. But if you add it all up, it's still twice. is still easily double. So it's lots of frequency, and it's really easy to use. So we really like 6 gigahertz. That's why there's been a lot of fanfare about it in the last couple of years. The US FCC approved it in May 2020. Today, it is supported by not Apple, unfortunately. So Apple, the iPad Pro does. The MacBook Pro with the M1 or M2 chip, I think M2 chip does, but the iPhones do not. So guess what we're expecting next month, September, and really anticipating. Most people are watching Apple to see what kind of port are they going to put. It can be a Lightning port or a USB port. I don't care myself. I don't care. Lightning port, USB. All I care about is, will Apple support 6 gigahertz in the iPhone 15? We think likely. We think it's likely going to happen. Today, Samsung, Google, a whole bunch of other brands have been supporting 6 gigahertz for quite some time. So we can start to make some predictions. And this is where we put on our funny tinfoil hat and we make a prediction and we say 50% of devices in North America will support 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi by October 2024. That's my prediction. We'll see how close I come to that. And Adeline, you have to call me back next year, and if I'm wrong, you'll have to hit me over the head with a bat for being wrong. But let's see how close we get to that 50% mark. And really, folks, that's just a little over a year from now. That's maybe 13 months from now. I think it'll hit that 50% mark. I think it's going to be that important. In North America, of course, Apple is the dominant share, 55% market share, almost double that of their second rival. Globally, you can see, globally there's a pretty good spread of different devices out there. So we can see that we start to add up these devices and when they're going to support this new 6 gigahertz. You add in Apple when they're going to support it, and then you can start to do some math and you can start to do some calculations based upon the average time that people hold on to their devices and when they typically will do their upgrades. We can use all that math, we can come up with that prediction. So that's my prediction. So that 6 gigahertz is going to be important. So one of the questions you want to ask is, well, what about now? So do I need to be, is this 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi practical? Is it valuable? Is it useful today? Yes, it absolutely is. So let's just take a look here about how we can sort of mix these things together. In the tenant apartments, of course, we still see a predominance of these Wi-Fi 4, Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6 devices. So you want to stick with that. Your best bang for the buck is sticking with that 2.4 and 5 gigahertz technology in those apartments. And then start to bring in the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi when you're starting to look at these high density areas. And I think Brian was talking about the importance of some of the public areas. He was talking about sort of these community areas that are designed around these environments that encourage people to coordinate together and to associate together. So in those high density areas that Brian was talking about, that's where you want to start to think about, well, let's bring in that 6 gigahertz, that new technology. So Cambium's got some tools to help you do that. So one of the tools that we have is actually in our cloud system, our cloud management system, and it will just simply report. It will tell you the number of devices that are capable of connecting to 6 gigahertz. Whether or not they are or not, that's a different issue. We can show you that also. But we will report the number of 6 gigahertz capable devices, even if they're connected, they could be off connected to a different Wi-Fi technology. So that's one of the tools that we include in our system. And that's going to help you sort of start to make these decisions and start to understand the impact of 6 gigahertz and sort of predict when 6 gigahertz is going to be important for your apartment, for the MDU community. Coming soon to the US, coming soon to a theater near you, outdoor Wi-Fi 6. Now, I think it was last week, Canada approved it for outdoor Wi-Fi. 6 gigahertz outdoor is now approved in Canada. So if you're our fun neighbors to the north, then you folks are first in the world to do it. And more power to you. I'm really proud of that. It's just a fantastic achievement. We do expect that that's put a lot of pressure on the US FCC to finalize their plans and get those approvals done. And those approvals will be done, I believe, in Q4. So we're just a matter of a few months away from outdoor 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And Cambium is prepared. So we've got the products already that can extend that capability outdoor. These products that we build in 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi are a little bit unique. What we did is we started building these products, a couple of years ago because it takes a long time to build a new technology. And we realized that there is this convergence that we need to wait for. And the convergence is hard to predict. So we built a software-defined radio into the AP. So you can take these APs, some of these APs that support 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and you can take that radio, you can just flip it over and run it in 5 gigahertz mode, the gold color there. And so now you can double your capacity in 5 gigahertz because that's the type of devices you have in your particular network. And then at some point in the future, which could be next quarter, by the way, it could be next year, you can flip that radio over and start using that new 6 gigahertz band. So that's how we can start to mix Wi-Fi 4, 5, 6, 6E, all the 6 gigahertz with the 5 gigahertz, and sort of mix it all together and blend it together. What Cambium has done to make this simple is we put all of these products in the same exact firmware. So when we do the intelligent RF management, and when one apartment is able to scan and detect Wi-Fi signals and RF interference signals from another apartment, which apartments are close together, you're going to get those interference. They are RF aware. So whether they're a Wi-Fi, where they support the 4, 5, 6, 6E, all of these APs are RF aware. They know what they're doing, and they know what every other device around them are also doing. And so they're able to adjust automatically to self-heal and to optimize that Wi-Fi. Now that statement right there, that self-healing plug-and-play Wi-Fi, it's easy to say. It's easy for me to just spit that out there. But it actually is very tricky to do in practice. And it is the one thing that fundamentally is different between going down to the local Best Buy and just buy the AP that's sitting on the shelf there, put it in your apartment or put it in your house versus managed Wi-Fi. It's the key difference. Because if your entire network is not RF aware, if it's not self-optimizing and self-healing, then nothing else we talk about on top will really work well. So when Kevin was talking about people streaming video, it was the number one thing. Kevin, I think you had 80-something% on that. Phone calls was 65%. When you're talking about these types of applications, if you can't get the Wi-Fi right, if you can't get the RF done correctly, right, nothing else really works on top of that. So let's get the Wi-Fi done right first. All right, now what can we do? Now we built great Wi-Fi. We've done some good things. We have this self-healing RF. Excellent. Now what can I do with it? What can you do with it? Well, now you can get personal. You can offer a personal Wi-Fi. You can give everybody their personal password. So as they check in, part of the check-in sign, the process is here's your personal password for your own Wi-Fi network. Well, what do I connect to? Well, you connect to Elm Street Apartments or whatever is the name of that Wi-Fi for that particular apartment community. That's what I connect, but I use my personal password. So you get personal with it. Let them put that password on all of their devices. Put it on their Apple TV, their Chromecast, their, whatever things that they have in their house. I think Adelaine said 20 devices, the number he threw out there. So take your 20 devices, customer, Mr. Tenant, put your own personal password on all 20 devices, and you're set. When you do that, keep it private. Make sure it's a private password and it's private VLAN. So now that once you do these things, you've created a secure network that is very flexible, and they can roam across the entire property. They can take it anywhere they go. Exercise room, take it out to the swimming pool, and they're carrying that personal password with them, and that private VLAN goes with them everywhere they go. And that's where it starts to separate and be different from just single-family home Wi-Fi, right? Because you can't really do that in a single-family home. You walk out of your house, you're going to lose Wi-Fi. In an apartment living, you don't lose the Wi-Fi, don't lose the connection. Now, here's where Cambium is a little bit different than some other vendors. 2,000 keys are cached per access point. Per access point. This is the highest in the industry by 4 times. The nearest product out there is about 500. I think it's maybe 512, but it's 1/4 the capacity of what Cambium does in terms of scalability. 50,000 keys per account, so more than enough keys. Now, now we can run this right inside of our CN Maestro cloud, completely within CN Maestro cloud, but our database is in the cloud. And you can run it right off of our cloud service and use our own database. Gives you this fastest roaming possible because we're going to push those keys right down onto the AP. There's another deployments. There's some other options you can do, using radius servers and things like that. Lots of different options that can be done, but the massive scalability that Cambium delivers is really unique. So this is just a little preview. And I got 1 minute left, 60 seconds. So if you want to know more about a secure network architecture, check out the NSC 3000 from Cambium. If you want to know more about that self-healing plug-and-play Wi-Fi, check out our Wi-Fi 6 APs and 6E. Software-defined radios, we got three great ones to take a look at, and MDU differentiations. If you want to know more about that, take a look at the Cambium Networks CN Maestro X. So X is our subscription service to our cloud-based CN Maestro. Check out our SDR software-defined radios. Look into the EPSK scalability. Look into the MSP workflows. Application visibility control. AVC means application visibility control. Take a look at our diagnostics automation, the remote troubleshooting, and the machine learning technologies we're building into this that creates that MDU differentiation. All right, with that, Adeline, I'm going to turn it back to you and let you vote on your best 80s rock music.
Thank you, Daran. Very insightful technology overview.